The worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach, and fitness expert, Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance. This is your chance where I sit down with today's tops in business, mindset, wellness, and success to help you master disruption and thrive.
Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.
He's the president and founder of Rev Heat and a sales expert with over 20 years of experience, a firm believer in the science of sales. He's personally driven over $1 billion in revenue, helping companies scale with strategic, results-driven sales strategy. As the author of Strategic Selling Unleashed, he is a sought-after thought leader featured in Forbes, keynote stages, top industry podcasts. His expertise makes him invaluable resource for executives and sales leaders looking to accelerate growth, optimize team performance, and close more deals fast. Ken Lundin, welcome to the podcast.
I want to meet that guy.
I am impressed. Who doesn't want to grow and make more money? I haven't met that person yet.
Yeah, everybody says they wanna. Well, I guess we'll find out who really does, though, right?
I am interested.
Perfect.
And I'm so happy to have you. Welcome to the podcast. Let's jump right into sales leadership and how to make an impact faster with what are the big mistakes sales leaders make when trying to scale their teams?
Oh, goodness. You got it going off the deep end quick. I mean, this is the deep end of the pool because in sales leadership, we were in this really weird spot. You're in this spot where you're expected to know everything.
Right.
And the people who are actually you're reporting to actually don't know anything. And
I think they do probably.
They think they do. So there's this massive oversimplification by the executive suite when they're working with sales leaders. And so we get into this real big, like the big overriding problem. Nobody understands how complex the problem is. And so therefore they think one person can fix it all. And so you'll typically find yourself under-resourced. And then as a sales leader, there's probably three primary mistakes people make. One is they think that having something be their idea instead of being efficient and quick to revenue is a better thing because they get credit for it, right? So that's first. Two, the theory that because they were part of a good system before, like oftentimes we find people go from large companies to like now they've got this big title at a small company.
Yeah.
They think that they actually know how to build the processes as opposed to work the processes. And the third one is hiring. You know, nobody really teaches anybody to hire for sales, and it's a completely different world than hiring for an accountant, an engineer, et cetera.
Wow. I mean, sales is everything. I mean, it's not the only thing, but it's everything in that revenue is what people are really looking for. So, how do you come in with your ninja skills and rectify a situation where you're dealing with a lot of egos, outdated systems, and understaffed? What is the ninja step after that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because it comes back to that idea of, so how do you go in and make a good impact today without forsaking the future? And how do you plan for the future and still have a job in 12 months because you got stuff done?
Right.
And so I think what it is, we tend to take an outlook that goes something like this. We want to find the lowest hanging fruit for short-term wins. That typically is, let's improve sales calls, let's improve the actions and the activities and such of your immediate sellers. Then we want to be doing that while we're putting in, say, a meeting framework that's good for a longer term or an intermediate term play where we're adding stand-ups and adding some personal accountability. And then while we're doing that, we're also focusing on, okay, how do we systematize some of those things? Because you have to do them in a way that says a focus on return of capital is the most important thing first.
Right.
Return on investment comes much later.
Oh, that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, return on, I think we have people all the time. You can imagine they come and they say, Ken, come fix our sales problems.
Yeah.
And they'll go, what's the ROI? And I'll go, well, okay, it's an okay question. But I often ask them, I said, so are you more interested in a return on your investment or are you more interested in the return of your investment? And they'll go
Okay.
like, well, both. Well, that's not the question you asked. Because ROI is something that's going to happen. I can tell you with sales training and companies like us who do fantastic and we're quick, you'll start to see a really significant improvement between the 6 and 9 month mark. But that's where you start to see it.
Yeah.
Return of capital is like how fast, if I paid $100,000 to get somebody to help me, do I get the
Yeah.
$100,000 back?
Yeah.
So
That's
we
a
take that.
different thing.
Yeah, it's a blended approach as a sales leader. If you take
Yeah.
that approach, I think you'll do much better if you kind of treat it like a consultant would.
Okay. Well, I am so interested in sales myself, and I know in your book you talk about the science of sales,
Yeah.
and I want to dive a little deeper into unpacking what strategies should leaders be using that are obviously data driven.
Sure. And it's not, and science of sales doesn't necessarily always mean data driven. It's as much as about the framework, the process, the repeatability of it. And when we start to talk about sales being data driven, let's make a contrast to what it is not.
Okay.
Most people think sales has a few things, right? They think one, if you stick a quarter in a salesperson's back, they will run harder. So
Right.
they believe that they're all money motivated. Um, and that's all that matters, which is wrong. So that's first. Second, they believe you have to be loud and boisterous, right? You're an extrovert. Well, our state of sales skills report from last year, our proprietary research says 49% of the top 10% of sellers are actually introverts. So you're getting that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're thinking that their book of business is the thing that matters. And so, Lisa, if I go to hire you and you came from my industry and you have clients in my industry that I hire you, and the number of times that you'll actually bring one of those clients to a new firm is about 1 in 100.
Wow.
So that's all the stuff it's not.
Yep.
What it is, though, is if you want to be repeatable, successful at it, you have to set up some processes. And the problem we run into, particularly in smaller companies, is the founders are super smart.
Right.
And you wouldn't think that'd be a problem, right? Like normally you're like, well, don't you want smart people? Sure, I want smart people, but they're super smart about the thing they're supposed to be super smart about, which is the technology, the service, the thing. Because if you're talking about VC backed and PE backed companies, they're funding smart people about the product.
Right.
And then they have the curse of knowledge that transfers beyond that. And they go, well, I'm really smart at software engineering. I can figure this thing out over here.
Oh my gosh. That's
And,
crazy.
and they don't. And so what they do is they go relationships, find people, and they do all these things. And it's why sales has the highest turnover of any profession at 30% a year. And they leave every 18 months. It's just a train wreck. So the systems and processes are as a company, you have a fundamental responsibility to put your salespeople in a position where they can be successful. Because with the average seller only spending 28% of their time selling, that's because the 72% of the rest of the crap you have them doing isn't
Yeah.
selling.
Oh, interesting.
So how are you going to be successful?
So it's about the processes, the systems, and getting people in their lane. And that kind of a turnover rate is expensive. If you're going to keep having to retrain salespeople,
Yeah.
you're wasting a lot of money and time, which is money. So I want to know, jumping into another topic, what is one unconventional, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Unconventional leadership strategy that has helped you or your clients see results fast.
Yeah, probably the fastest results is um, I'll just keep quoting stats. People understand I'm not just making this stuff up, but it's 70% of your clients, if they're happy, are willing to give a referral.
Right.
Yet the way we get referrals is we sit around and then we anxiously stare at the phone, aggressively waiting for it.
Oh,
Right. And that's not how we do it. This is the number one referral to get to, say, return of investment or capital on a sales investment immediately. If you have a company that can sell more things to the same people, is to go ahead and put in a systematized referral process.
that
Because
makes sense.
that instantly does it. We had one company that was on the verge of bankruptcy, had 2.5 year sales decline. They're about 10 million at the time. We had a 2.5 million in sales in 6 months. We had a 12.2 million in 18 months with that one strategy.
Wow.
So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be about outbound prospecting. You need to have some sort of lead gen mechanism for sure. But, I think the most unconventional thing, everybody will come in and they'll go, hey, we need to find a better way to prospect when they've never been successful at it in the history of the company. Well, why don't we
That's
lean into something new? So,
well, I love the stats and the numbers don't lie with the $1 billion in sales that you've been able to produce. So I want to jump into what separates high performing sales teams from the ones that struggle.
a few things. One is and probably the thing that's most prevalent for companies is this. The high performing companies have their ideal client profiles. They know exactly who they're selling to. And
Right.
they know exactly what, if they're going to sell to the chief technology officer, they know what their problems are. And too often, the way most companies are structured, and I'd venture a guess that it's, 90% of them, they want to talk about our product and then let you figure out why in the heck it's going to fit into your world. So I would
Right.
say the primary difference there, and that's not necessarily completely a sales thing as much as a go-to-market thing. That's why we have CMOs who work for me, because we actually go do that work for people because it's so bad.
Oh gosh.
But you have to get the ideal client profile right. Like, who are you selling to and what are their problems? Not who are you selling to and what does your software do? Because most companies go like this. Well, we need to talk to the director of marketing because our thing does this, this, and this, and it helps SEO and you can publish blogs faster. But if the director of marketing doesn't need to do those things to solve a problem, they're not going to buy anything.
Yeah. So you got to first dial in your ideal client. Who are they and what are their problems? And I want to know, because I love this topic. Final question that I want to break down is what role does AI and automation play in increasing sales efficiency? And where do most leaders get it wrong?
Most leaders get it wrong because they're trying to take a shortcut. And so what that means is this. Most of the time, remember we just talked about most companies don't have the right systems and process in place. And
Yeah.
therefore, they don't know what the normal expectation should be based on their own efforts. So to show you this concept, we did a test. And we said, AI, construct an outbound email campaign for this company and go do it. And so AI constructs it, does the emails, we put it together in the workflow, and its results were just as piss poor as every other sales rep on the planet.
Right.
On the other hand, we had a performing email campaign, one that we knew the stats and we knew it was setting the appropriate amount of phone calls and appointments and it was doing the things. It was already performing. We put AI on top of it and increased the results by 45%. So the primary thing people are getting wrong is we're trying to use it as a hack instead of a supplement.
Oh,
That's the difference in how we're going to use AI today. Maybe
yeah.
someday you just plug in an AI and they know all the stuff Ken knows. But it's better right now if you can lay it on top. If you think about it like this, if we had an A and a B test and we got one of those to start to work, and then we put AI on top of it for a B to C test, that's where you're going to see the real leverage.
Oh my God, I love that distinction. So it's like
Yeah.
you can't just ask AI to do all your homework for you. You kind of have to give it the right input first to get the quality results that you're bringing to the table. Is there any question I haven't asked you about how we can be unstoppable in sales since I have you on the call?
Yeah, I think the only other one is, you've got to start with the hiring process. And the hiring process is something, if I'm a leader, a founder, a CEO, a sales leader, whatever it is, give me a position that I need to be responsible for hiring somebody who's either going to support sales or be in sales. And I think that's the place we forget, right? We get them in and then we're like, oh, let's go spend money on more social media or let's spend money on SEO. But honestly, the way people hire and the compensation plans they put together are demotivating. And so the entire hiring and onboarding system for companies is probably the biggest internal problem that any single company has, because I can show you, if the CFO is involved in writing your comp plan, there's an 8 in 10 chance that it's absolutely demotivating. It's not because they're wrong financially, but it's because they have things in the comp plan that the salesperson has no control over, and those are demotivating. So I'd say
Wow.
the hiring and onboarding process is it's a big animal to fix alone, but I happen to know a guy who has a process that works pretty good.
All right, Ken, London, where can people find you and fix their sales problems?
Sure. You can do two things. So one is look for me on LinkedIn. I'm sure my LinkedIn URL will be in the show notes. So it's Lundin, Lundin. And second, if you want to go to drivingtraction.com, you can download a copy of my book for free. And that's Strategic Selling Unleashed. And that's the book that's our sales methodology. So, it's free, or you can go to Kindle and pay $30 for it, or you can come to me and pay 100,000. So you decide where you want to get it.
Okay, so say that one more time.
Sure.
Driving Traction.
Drivingtraction.com.
Thank you for being a great guest, Ken Lundin.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Lisa.